Baxter here from Casino Guitars. We have a special episode today. We're talking with Robby Z about perhaps the largest guitar theft in history. This is the most amount of guitars in a single collection were completely stolen out of this one man's, his life of saving them. They're all vintage. Most are vintage, some are custom shop, one of a kinds, but vintage Jazzmaster Jaguars. It's kind of a heartbreaking story, but we're hoping by putting this out here that all of you guys can help us track some of these down. We've tracked a few down already through all the sources and great police work in the guitar community as a whole, and some of the shops out in the West Coast are really helping. This is a West Coast situation right now, so if you're in that San Jose Bay Area, ears up, pay attention. But the guitars have already spread around the country. Some have tried to go international. Stay tuned. The collection's earth-shattering, and it's a daunting task. But thank you for watching. Here we go.
Let's get into it a little bit. Like, what happened exactly?
So here's the deal. I've been collecting guitars since about 1990. Seriously, I've always owned a few guitars. I played gigs. I got my degree in music and at San Jose State way back in the day in music theory. Played in bands since I was in 8th grade, and then I got heavily into it in the 90s as I started to accumulate more money. I don't do drugs, I don't drink, so I spend my money on real estate and guitars. And so as I collected these guitars, I had a studio, and I had my home studio, and I had places to put them. And then I got divorced about 5 years ago. And when I got divorced, I had nowhere to put them, so I went to a storage facility. Central Safe Storage. Yeah. Central Safe Storage. And I wasn't around a lot, so I put them all in there, about 200 guitars and about 20 amplifiers, all vintage, everything. You saw my list. It's pretty nice list.
I just pulled up right here next to me, so it's
so I had to put everything in storage, and it was fine for a few years. Every time I was in San Jose, California, I would go check on them, or I would add a guitar, because I really didn't sell any guitars. I would just, once in a while, if I saw something cool, I'd purchase it. I was really into the offset custom colors, and I've been doing that since about 98. I was down in the NAMM show playing for Fender guitars, and I was with a buddy of mine, Brad Gillis, who's a pretty famous guitar player with Night Ranger and played with Ozzy, and I just gotten him at that time into collecting vintage. I said, hey, look, these Strats, these custom color Strats are going crazy. They're like 15 grand now, 20 grand. We should start collecting custom color Fender other stuff. So I started buying, Jags and Jazzmasters and the custom colors. So anyway, he was going to buy into it with me. I said, come on, we should just buy a bunch of this stuff. It's so cool, but he bought different stuff, and he still collects, and we're still best friends and all of that. But the bottom line is, I put everything into storage 5 years ago, and I would go there every couple months when I was in town and check on everything, add a guitar, and then shit, it's a nightmare. I don't even like talking about it, but I got a phone call one night here in Cabo in February from Joseph at Olivia's Vintage. And he says, hey, Robby, I just bought a guitar from Guitar Center, and when I got it, I just opened the case, and it's still got a sell slip in it from 2004 when you bought this guitar. It was an ES330, a dead mint 1961 ES.NET 330. And he goes, did you sell this guitar? Because I know you don't really sell guitars. And most of the dealers know me. And I said, no, I didn't sell that guitar. And he goes, well, I'm holding it in my hand. Something's not right. And man, did I get a wave of nausea and just complete, I can't even describe the feeling. So I called my buddy that night, and I said, you got to go to my storage facility tomorrow morning, because I was out of town. And I'm going to tell you where the key is. I'm going to give you the code to get in the gate. I'm going to get all that for you in the morning. So at 7:30 in the morning, I got all the information. He went and picked up the keys from my caretaker. He got all the stuff. Oh God, he went over there and he took a photo, and my lock wasn't even on the door. There was another lock on the door. And I'm like, are you at the right place? He goes, yeah, I'm at your number so-and-so. And there's this black master lock, and I had the round disc lock that are supposedly impossible to get off because there's hardly anywhere you can cut, and they're very hard to break into. Right. So he said, I'm going to go home and get my bolt cutters. And he went home, got bolt cutters, came back, snapped it off. And he called me. I was on the phone. He said, there's nothing in the shed, nothing, zero. They took the rat trap. There was a black rat trap I put in there because there were some rats coming underneath. This facility was not a very good facility, apparently. They took virtually everything. I had a lot of my files were in there because it was, when you go through the divorce thing, you're always thinking, well, I'll worry about this later. I'll get the files. I'll do this. When am I going to, I'm going to move all my stuff here. But in the meantime, you just put everything somewhere because all I kept in my divorce were my guitars.
Well, I'm going to ask you a painful question. Did you have insurance on this?
I had my guitars insured up until 2012. With Joan Gallo at Heritage, and when I started my around 2012, I said, you know what, I'm paying a couple grand a year, and I've never had an issue. I went off the road at that time. I had been playing 200 shows a year with a young musician out of Nashville, and I've been on the road. I kind of was more worried about those guitars than I was the ones in my studios and the ones at my home, and so I dropped my insurance and. Yeah, so I have no insurance.
So to our viewers, I mean, a question I'm going to ask you is like, what can they do to help?
Well, I have pretty much a full list. I did the list I filed a police report the day it happened, and they immediately want to list every item that was in there. So I didn't have a complete. I'm not one of those guys that has every item. I'm not a dealer. So I didn't have everything completely listed, so I had to go through my files. I made the most complete list that I could come up with. I added in about every serial number I had. I did a photo of every guitar that I had a photo of. So I would say about 80% have photos and serial numbers, but maybe 20% don't. But they're identifiable. I mean, I have photos, and I'm one of those guys. I compare the photos, and I can tell if the screws, all that. So what I'm hoping could happen is to put the word out, because I was under the instructions of the police department, the San Jose Police Department, not to put any word out on the street or on the internet, because they had some heavy leads they were pursuing, and they were worried that people would clam up and disappear. They want to get people selling the guitar. And like I said, they sold 5 to Guitar Center, which thank God I got those back. And they sold 4 to another store up in Seattle, and they were out selling these guitars. So now that I've been approved, go ahead and release the information, because we've pursued all the leads, although they're still on them. So what people can do is keep an eye out, because the most important thing is I've had a lot of people that have helped me by saying, hey, I just saw a Craigslist ad. Is this your guitar? And I look and I go, yeah, it is. Well, 4 hours later, that ad is gone, because the guy put a $15,000 guitar for $3,000.
Right.
Boom. So he goes and buys it. They close that ad off. And that one guitar I'm talking about, they actually put it on 3 different Facebook ads in different areas. Very clever, how they were doing it. So my feeling is, and our private eye and our 2 detectives, we have a lot of people working on this. These guitars are, by the way, they're all in a national database. So the police have logged everything in. So somebody gets burglarized in Arkansas and they get guitars, they're going to look for numbers and pictures. So I'm hoping that, because I'm a big believer in the guitar community, man. The people like you that are just amazing people that do amazing things and love for the love of guitars. And I believe that people that truly love guitars will go, hey, I know a guy just bought a guitar and I got a feeling it might be yours, or hey, I got a guitar that your serial number's on it, and just being honest about it, because I'm not trying to screw anybody over. I will work out whatever I need to do to get my guitars back. I have a guitar that I have over 10,000 gigs on in that collection that are gone, things like that.
Whose guitar is that?
That's a 1966 Stratocaster. It's on the photos. It's really beat up. but it's still original. And the only thing I ever did is I actually had to change the bridge because they were snapping the strings constantly. The saddles were getting pretty sharp. But yeah, that guitar has about 10,000 gigs on it. That's my baby. I actually retired that guitar. It's called Erlene. I have 2 guitars that were made for me by Fender. I mean, there's no way it could ever be sold. It says right on the 12th fret, Robby Z. On the headstock, it says custom made by John Cruz at the Master Shop for Robby Z. They made that guitar for me. Nobody can ever buy that guitar. You know, I have another one that's one of my CDs, and they actually did the CD cover right onto the guitar. It's a Fender custom shop. So there's some of those, but there's just some, I would say, you know.
I mean, the list is sort of dumbfounding. It's like, we're going to have the list up on this video, obviously, and the pictures, but, you know, if somebody just makes it through this part of the video, I want to understand, it's like this, dozens and dozens of vintage 60s Jazz Masters and Jaguars, some Strats and some Teles, but I've never really seen a list. I think this is the largest guitar theft ever. It's one of the top. It's one of the biggest ones I've ever seen as far as vintage. It's definitely the biggest one of vintage offsets of custom colors in the history of guitars.
Yeah, well, you know, in all honesty, I'm not a hoarder, and I wasn't trying to corner the market on them. I just love custom color Fenders. When I realized I couldn't afford,
so I get that. Like I've been looking for custom colored Jazz Masters and Jaguars of this vintage recently, which is part of maybe how this all got so in our brains, because the prices have gone crazy over the past year on these as well.
Well, that's the thing. It all changed because literally 5 years ago, I sold 5 Jaguars to a friend of mine, a dealer, and I couldn't even get $5,000 each for them for custom colors. 5 years, 6, 7 years ago, maybe. They went crazy in the last year, and I've been looking on the internet. I have a whole crew of people that watch the internet every day and are really trying to help and find things. And I'm amazed how many people collect these now. And so it's a prime time for Jazz Masters and Jaguars and, you know, the offset custom color. And they're just actually, Jazz Master to me, they sound as good as any Strat I've ever played, to be honest with you. I really believe that. They're a little awkward to play though, so I stay with the Strat on stage. But yeah, there's a lot of those, and then I had just a few real rarities in there. I had like a 65 Lake Placid blue Tele with original gold hardware. I mean, when was the last time you saw a Tele with gold hardware from 1965? You know, and I just love that guitar. I just love it.
There's a gold Sparkle, and there was the Jaguar Jazz Master.
I got that back.
No, you got that back. Awesome.
It's a Jaguar. It's a Jaguar.
Yeah. You'd never seen one of those.
I'm sorry?
We'd never seen one of those, and so when we saw that.
Let me tell you something about that guitar. I've been collecting since 80s, but really seriously in the 90s, and I've never seen a fully documented Fender Sparkle guitar, because I've tried to buy them and I've seen them at shows and things. This is fully documented. This has the letter from the artist rep at Fender that literally made the guitar for a musician on TV. That said, we made this in the in the Fender factory, not outsourced, painted. We made it here. It says right in the pocket, do not sell. I got the letter from the guy who it was given to, who's wrote a bunch of famous country songs. It's got the most provenance of any guitar I've ever seen, and I actually got that guitar back. I've gotten back 17 guitars out of about 200 so far. I've gotten, and that's because of people scanning like this, people that are going to help me and say, Rob, I just saw Nick over at Guitar Center and he's got a bunch of your guitars posted. And I call Nick and he goes, yeah, Nick Conti. And he's like, dude, I'm sorry. Let me make it right. I mean, these people have been great, and lucky they have insurance. So they get the money back to the people get the guitar, everybody. So I've returned 17 guitars.
Okay, that's pretty amazing. I know it's a daunting task to think of the 173 that you have to go, but that's pretty amazing that the community's come together thus far to help you.
I'm a big believer. I've got a guy right now that bought one of my guitars, and he's trying to get it back from a guy he sold it to in Canada, and that guy has been on a text message with me every day for the last week. He's not only trying to get back the guitar that he bought from a thief, but he is helping all over scanning. He's the one that put me in touch with you guys, so you might know who it is. And I'm not an internet guy. I've watched some of your videos now, and you guys are amazing. And I've watched a couple other people, and I love it. I just think that, there's more to this collecting thing, and I'm really fortunate because, like I said, I don't go spend $2,000 on tattoos. I buy a guitar, you know what I mean? Or I don't do drugs. I don't do stupid stuff. So that they put a blog in Europe when my guitars got stolen. This Vintage Guitar did, and it went all. There was comments of all kinds, but 95% were really genuine. Just like, dude, this must be gut wrenching, man. I am so sorry, and that's what I'm appealing to. I'm hoping that people will not buy one of my guitars, because the sad news is, if you do buy stolen merchandise, the police can confiscate it and take it from you, and you don't get anything. But I'm willing, if they say, hey, don't buy it, here's who tried to sell it to me, like this guy that I just talked to this week. Hey, the guy, here's his number, here's due. Then we contact the guy, and
But if let's say someone is like trying to sell it in a very sketchy way, and it's like a one-off type of moment, would you want this person to buy it so they can contact you further? Just because it might be something that just disappears in the wind too.
It's generally, I would say, yeah, that's probably the case. I really don't know, because I haven't come to that, but the basic protocol is, we see one of my guitars on Craigslist, because that's where they put a lot of. The protocol is, we notify the detective with the police department, and they go try to make the purchase. When they do, because like this one guy that just bought the guy had a whole bunch of my guitars.
Awesome.
And so they go in undercover and they try to make the purchase. So, I think it's best to immediately notify me or the detective. And I think the information's on that, the information I gave you guys.
Yes. Yeah, so we're going to put all your information, obviously, on this as well. We'll have the detective's information. People can notify us as well, and we'll get them in touch with you and the police, just to kind of make it happen as quickly as possible, if there's any chance. Because, the longer this goes, the worse it is, in my opinion, just because stuff disappears.
Well, we're hoping that the majority are still sitting somewhere, because what we found is that the ones we've recovered were all back in around February. We know for a fact who broke into the storage shed now. They've traced it down. That person is no longer around. He actually died. And we know somebody who broke into his storage unit. So we're tracking down the details. We think the bulk is sitting somewhere in the San Francisco Bay Area, but the ones that have scattered about, we don't know how many. It could be 50, could be 20, could be, we don't know.
There's a chance to find a big haul if they just keep on.
That's the prayer. The prayer is that they go in and they follow up on one of these leads. If somebody says, hey, Rob, I think I saw one of your guitars, or I bought one, and here's who I bought it from. So far, the people that have turned them back, like Guitar Center and Mike and Mike's up in Seattle, they gave me, whether it's false information, the people, they say, we want to see your ID, we want to see your information for buying them, which is really reputable. I really respect dealers that do that, not go, here's some cash, give me the guitars. They're like, hey, we're buying your stuff, we'd like to see it. And those leads are the ones that really have panned out, because those go back to, it's like tracing it, tracing it back as far as they can. And that's why we keep coming back to this Bay Area. And yeah, my prayer, it isn't the money, it's the all the years that I get tears in my eyes looking at my list, because people are always checking. I got a thing the other day, hey, this guy has a guitar listed, could you check? And I'm looking at, and I just can't. It's an emotional thing, as you guys all know. I'm looking at your guitars on the wall, and come on, there's beauty in this. This isn't about money. This is about
it's part of your history.
And I've already made a commitment to myself that I'm going to sell off a majority of them. Because it took something out of me, man. It took something out of me I can't replace. And Joseph, who was the first person to turn me on to it, I just sold 5 guitars to him that were really nice guitars and at a good rate, so he could double his money almost. And I'm willing to do that with anybody that helps me. Because I'm going to keep my little bit of handful of stuff. but this was my retirement. This was not, I'm not a rich guy. I'm okay. But every one of these guitars was an investment for me.
No, it's a substantial investment too. So it's well, I'm hoping that folks after watching this can put their ears out if they see anything weird, especially in that San Jose, Bay Area. If there's any storage lockers, that you see a lot of guitars in there that just seems a little bit off, like it shouldn't be there. Just put the word out and help. And we've all been in situations. We've had guitars stolen from us. It's very personal. It's not like someone just taking my wallet in the same way. It's very personal. So it's respect it, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us about it today too.
Well, you guys are amazing. And the one thing I've gotten out of this, it's so positive, people like you. I've had so many people reach out and just go, dude, I'm dying for you. I am dying. And there's something bigger than all of this that I'm getting out of it. And I really, really, people like you, and you guys are just amazing, Baxter. And I really appreciate it. And I appreciate anybody out there that can give me any information or any help at all. It would really be more than I could imagine.
Thank you, Robby. And we're all looking for you. So hats off to you and everybody out there looking for it. So appreciate you taking the time with us again today.
Thank you, my friend.
Again, thanks for watching. The full list of the guitars that were stolen is below. You can also directly contact the police forces that are listed in these links. Robby Z directly. Contact us. Contact anyone in the guitar community that you think can help. We're pleading with everyone out there. It's just not cool. And it's just, we would love to see some justice in this one as well. So thank you. Thank you for watching. Let's help this guy out. Let's help the guitars find their home again. And that's it. Casino Guitars, signing out.